Hello friends, I'm Rosa. Welcome to the channel. Also, by the way, if it looks like I've been crying, I just sneezed right before I started recording. So anyway, hi! I am here today with actually a timely reading wrap up for September. I would call it timely. Might be like a couple of days late. It's fine. I read 9 books in September and I've not done the math on how many pages and everything, which I definitely feel like I should have done that before I started recording. But no, we might be on time, but we're still messy. I can tell you though that I read 4 physical books, I read 5 ebooks, one of which was an ARC. I finished 8 of them and I had to DNF one. I DNF'd the ARC. Spoiler alert. But I would say overall it was a pretty good reading month, to be honest. Like, I read a lot of good books. So I will make sure, as always, to leave links to the books in the description box down below if you want to go check them out. Because I know that my summaries sometimes get a little bit chaotic and they're slightly all over the place, and that's fine. I've come to terms with it. I don't know about you guys yet, but I have come to terms with it. So that said, let's get started, shall we? I actually have 2 primary buddy read books this month because the one from October I didn't feature in the last wrap up. So we have House of Salt and Sorrows by Aaron A. Craig, which is a YA fantasy with horror. And I don't like the way I pronounce that, horror. It's a spooky kind of book. It's nice. I liked it a lot. It's a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses. So we follow our lead girl whose name is Annalie, and some of her sisters have died. She has 11. She has 11 sisters, or she had 11 sisters. Some of them are not with us anymore as we're starting the book. But their deaths are kind of weird and things are strange around this like place they live, this big mansion by the sea. And then the girls, so Annalie and her sisters, start sneaking out in the middle of the night to these balls where they're dancing all night and, you know, wearing out their shoes and stuff, and things are very mysterious. And Annalie suspects as well that, is her name not Annalie? Yes, it would be so awkward if I'm just sitting here saying her name and then it's like not her name. Anyway, her name is Annalie. Glad we got that sorted out. But she starts suspecting that maybe her sister's deaths are not actually accidental. And so she starts to look into it and things get very, very scary and mysterious. Still mysterious. Kind of dark as well. This was lovely. I enjoyed every second of it. I enjoyed the guessing games. I was a little bit confused. A little bit of buddy horror in there as well, a little bit of gore. Sad vibes too, definitely, because, you know, passing a family member is not a fun thing. Not a fun little event to go through. So, but I really like the atmosphere of this. I feel like it was nicely like conveyed, if you will. It was nice and spooky, but without being like too scary either. That said, I don't know where your line is, so don't take my word for it if you're not a spooky kind of gal or guy. I suppose. Then, you know, just like tread carefully, because my line I don't know where it is, okay? It's weird. I'm forever unfazed, apparently. Well, not completely unfazed, but like most of the time I'm unfazed. So much happened in this as well. I feel like the pacing was really good. I really enjoyed it. So what did I give it? 4 out of 5. I can't remember the exact decimals, but my book says 4 out of 5, so that's what I'm gonna go with. Yes. Then the other one that we finished, was this last month? I can't remember actually. Which one did I finish last? Was the House of Salt and Sorrows? Are you from August? Oh my gosh, what happened? I have no sense of time. It's fine. The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson, which is a YA mystery thriller as well. Also has to do with family. A very messed up, messy family, by the way. But as you can probably tell, it's about the reappearance of Rachel Price. So we follow, what's her name? The daughter, whose name is Annabelle. I kid you not, her name is Annabelle. We're gonna call her Belle because fine. Her mother went missing like 16 years ago, I think it was. And as we start the book, there's a film crew that's making a documentary on her disappearance. But a few days into this book, Rachel reappears. And she's like, I'm back. And then she starts telling a story about what happened to her. But the thing is, whenever she tells a story, because she has to tell it to multiple people at different times, she's not really being consistent in the way that she describes how things have happened. It's a little bit like certain things she makes like little changes from time to time and things are not really adding up. So Annabelle is like, I don't really trust you, Mom. Or she doesn't call her Mom at this point, she calls her Rachel. I don't really trust you, Rachel. And so she starts to dig into what actually happened to Rachel Price those 16 years ago. And it's messed up. It's a lot, there's a lot of messed up stuff in this book. Okay? A lot of messed up. It was very entertaining. It was highly entertaining. I got certain things right in my little, you know, guessing games, but certain things also took me by surprise. But it was nice, like, not knowing until maybe like a couple of chapters before, and you're like, wait a minute, this is what it is, isn't it? I loved that. I love that so much. Well written as well. Holly Jackson is a great mystery writer. Definitely giving a little bit of Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I did read parts of 5 Survive a while ago, and I wasn't really enjoying it that much. This, however, we're right back into it. It was very, very, very good. I gave it 4.5. Not exactly perfect, but we're getting there, you know, we're getting there. Also, I'm so sorry if you can hear music in the background. I'm gonna do my best to remove it, but I'm not a magician. They weren't playing music when I started recording. They started right after. A little bit unfortunate, but there's not really anything I can do about it. So, a book that I think this was supposed to have been, oh, it's not a buddy read per se, but we still kind of read it as a read-along thing with the book club. King of Greed, which is the 3rd book in the Kings of Sin series by Anna Huang. So this is an adult contemporary romance. I'm losing my voice. It's great. In which we follow 2 characters that have definitely been mentioned in King of Pride. I can't remember if they were mentioned in King of Wrath though. So it's Dominic and Alessandra. And this is a second chance romance. It is a we're getting divorced and then second chance romance. And it's like they've been together pretty much always. So in short, the plot is that Alessandra and Dominic met when they were in school. They were together always. They got married, but then Dominic is very, very, as you can probably tell, King of Greed, he's very money fixated and he doesn't know how to say no to work. So it's like Alessandra, who used to be his first priority, has kind of become second priority, and she's had enough. So she's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I am gonna go figure out my own thing and you do your work. And so, like it says, it isn't until she's gone that he realizes there may be more to life than riches and glory. So it's all about winning her back. All I'm saying is, I feel like Alessandra deserves so much better. I feel like there should have been way more pining, but also I'm not good with second chance romance, because if the reason for you guys breaking up is so bad that you're divorcing, moving apart, and everything, which in this case I feel like it is. I just don't, especially like after 10 years, I just don't, like, I didn't feel like the reason, I felt like the reason to get to part ways was big enough that she shouldn't have given him a second chance. Especially because he wasn't pining nearly enough. Like, I don't know, it just didn't know. I think my Goodreads summary was like, throw the man in the trash. Or something like that. I don't like Dominic, okay? I'm not a fan. He's not for me. It's got nothing to do with him being blonde. Isn't he blonde? I feel like he's blonde. He's given that kind of energy. Don't ask me why. I think he might be blonde. It's got nothing to do with that. I don't mind blonde men. I live in Denmark. Everyone's freaking blonde. Dominic sucks though. Just to set it straight, Dominic is no. So, yeah, it was too late, Dominic. Well, apparently not for Alessandra. You deserve so much better. I don't know how she's gonna make a living pressing flowers, though. I will admit to that. Like, I don't get that. But, I'm hoping that this series gets better with King of Sloth, which I've not read because it's kind of killed it for me a little bit. So, but I'm hoping King of Sloth just takes it up a notch, because no. Definitely a problem with the man though, but the man was also written by Anna Huang, so I suppose it's a problem with the writing as well, in some way. Then an ebook that I almost have wrote. I freaking wish, but no. I don't know how to write anything. I can't even write reviews. Like, it's a problem. An ebook that I read though, because it was on Kindle Unlimited, was Tales of the Celestial Kingdom by Su Lin Tan, which are short novellas, not novels, that are connected to Daughter of the Moon Goddess. And if you've been around for a little bit here on the channel, you know I love Daughter of the Moon Goddess. Not so much Heart of the Sun Warrior, definitely more into Daughter of the Moon Goddess, but love that duology. Xingyin has such a special place in my heart. I love her so much. So it was nice being back in that world. And even though the novellas are not all from her point of view, they kind of like swap a little bit back and forth between characters. There's some from when she, or yeah, there's at least one from when she that takes place during Daughter of the Moon Goddess. One from Leeway as well during Daughter of the Moon Goddess. So there's a couple, it's built up so that there's a couple of novellas that take place during certain things in Daughter of the Moon Goddess. There's also a novella that takes place before Daughter of the Moon Goddess. Like the whole explanation of what happened to Xingyin's mother and her father, that's explained in that book. I go like this because, you know, my books are up there. I don't have Tales of the Celestial Kingdoms, unfortunately. I wish though, but no. But their stories explained or written in that book. We have from Leeway, we have from When She, I can't remember who's the last one or if that was it. And then there's a couple that take place during certain events in book 2, Heart of the Sun Warrior. And then there's a little bit afterwards as well, including an epilogue as well. So, because I did go back and check Heart of the Sun Warrior and there's actually no epilogue in it. There's an epilogue in Tales of the Celestial Kingdoms, which was nice. It was nice because I did feel like Heart of the Sun Warrior kind of left me wanting a little bit. Like it was missing something at the end, most definitely. So it was nice, okay. I really liked it. It was cute. There was one of the stories that was a bit like, yeah, whatever. But the rest I really liked, and they were short. It was nice that they were explained, like, when did they take place. I loved as well seeing the Moon Goddess and also, is he the Sun Warrior? Are the books titled after her parents? I mean, they might be. Is he the Sun Warrior? Anyway. I just really liked seeing the lead up to her being exiled to the moon, because while you're told the story, you're not like told it in detail, especially not from their point of views. So that was really, I really liked that. This wouldn't necessarily be one that I would recommend unless you really, really loved that duology. Definitely consider picking it up or finding it on KU if it's still on there, or whatever your format is. But I definitely would recommend that if you've read the duology, especially if it left you wanting a little bit more at the end of Heart of the Sun Warrior, and also if you just like the duology overall. It's adult fantasy, by the way, with romance, but yeah, I forgot to say. So I ended up giving it 4. And then another little novella that I read was Mysteries of Thorn, Manor by Margaret Rogerson, which is kind of like a novella sequel situation to Sorcery of Thorns. It's YA fantasy, and this is mainly about like them being forced to date, I suppose. The house that they live in is misbehaving because they kissed and they're not engaged or married. There's a couple of trials he has to go through as well for them to actually be paired together. And so the house is like, it's acting up because how dare you kiss or something like that. So it's about them figuring out what the heck is happening with the house, and also about them just getting a little bit closer. And it was a nice little revisit into their world. I think most of all I enjoyed revisiting Silas. I don't know. He was my favorite part of this. I really like Silas. So, but yeah, it was cute. Also very short, I think. Okay, it's like it says 178 pages. However, there's not a whole lot of text per page, just want to say. So it's definitely very short. Very quickly readable if you just want like a little, if you really liked Sorcery of Thorns, which I understand why some people do. Definitely, you know, definitely. It's a quick little one. It won't take you long to read it. And it has a lot of charm as well. So I gave this one 4 too. I don't know, novellas for me are difficult because I think as long as the book is good, the longer it is, the more I get connected to it. Like I don't necessarily get bored with it, but I feel it's gaping hole when I'm done with a long book. If I've enjoyed it. If I don't enjoy it, it's just a drag, you know. So novellas for me are a little bit difficult because I don't necessarily, like, it works with Tales of the Celestial Kingdoms for me because I really enjoy the duology, and so it feels like it's just an extension of that duology. Same with this one, but if you get like other novellas, I'm always a bit like, why do we have to rush through it? Like, just take your time. So they're a little bit difficult, but I feel like these ones that are an extension of an actually existing story already, they work for me. They work so well. So What else do we have? Do we have 3 books left? 4. We got 4. Why are they so noisy? Let's talk about this one. I wasn't supposed to finish this one until like 10 days from now or something like that. We're reading it, well, I'm not reading it anymore, but it's a read along with the book club. I just accidentally finished it, okay? I finished Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mara. It's romantasy, a lot of humor in it as well. Bit of a, I want to call it like unique romantasy, because a lot of romantasy, we'll talk a little bit about like the Book of Azrael, for example. They sort of follow like a formula. This feels a little bit different to a lot of other romantasy because it's so packed with humor. It's very fast-paced as well. It's very superficially funny. Like, I don't know how else to say. It's very on the nose. That's what I meant. On the nose funny. It's also chaotic. And yes, I feel like the flow in this one was, the humor part of it was a lot better for me personally than Assistant to the Villain, because I felt like Assistant was trying a little bit too hard to be funny. So, but speaking of the story, we follow Evie Sage, who, oh my gosh, what is the first one actually about? She's become the assistant to the villain after bumping into him in the woods because he was on the run from some soldiers. He's called the villain. So he's the villain in this like kingdom that they live in. He is the arch enemy of the king, and she becomes his assistant. She's just been offered a job but basically turned it down because she knew that someone else needed the job more. And so she's missing a job and he's like, you can be my assistant. And she's like, oh, cool, okay. So that's what it's about. Also, there's at this place that the villain works at, it's sort of like a castle. I can't remember if it has a name. Is it on here? I don't know. It's chaotic. Like, this map is just weird. Anyway, but at this castle that they work at, things are weird a little bit. Well, weirder than usual. It's where he does all his evil deeds and stuff, where he plans all his evil plans. But it feels like there might be a mole. Someone might be taking their secrets and giving them to the other side. So, the king's side of things. And so Evie has to figure out who's actually being a double agent. This one goes a little bit more in depth with the story in this world, a little bit more in depth with the magic as well, but don't think like super complex magic system. I've not had anything explained in regards to the magic system. That's not what this is. This is just funny, okay? It's just funny. It's entertainment. It's chaotic. It's fun. It's light. It's breezy. Evie especially is super chaotic. Like, what's the step above chaotic? That is Evie. So don't think like super complex world building and super complex magic systems. You're not getting that from this. You're getting laughs, okay? And a frog with some signs. We love Kingsley. He's up here. By the way, that's Kingsley. Oh, I need to know more about him. I need the 3rd book. Anyway, this was fun. I liked it a lot. Yeah, it says 4.5. I probably gave it 4.3 on Goodreads, but I can't fully remember. Yeah. So let's do the Book of Azrael because I mentioned it. I read the Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole, which is the first one in, I think, a 4-book series. It's romantasy, but it's a bit on the darker side, so I feel like, again, it doesn't necessarily fully follow the like classic romantasy formula that you can see in a lot of different books on KU. I love those books. That is not a dig, by the way. I love them. I love myself some classic romantasy. But in this one, we follow the... Oh, this was a secondary pick to the book club, actually. I kind of finished this ahead of time as well, I'm sorry. I got so into it. I was like sucked in. Around the 50% mark, I was gone. I was a goner. But we follow our lead girl, who is actually as well on the villain side in this story, which is super interesting. She's also sort of like a monster, like a demonic monster. There's no demons and angels in the story, but to kind of compare it to something to make it a little bit easier for myself to understand what's going on, that's kind of what I see them as. So we follow her though. She is working for the villain in this world, and he's like a big bad villain with like power. He's just villainous. Not in a funny way, in a terrifying way. And it's not that our lead girl Diana necessarily wants to work for him per se. It's kind of just like that's that's what she does. That's what she has to do. Also because she does it for her sister. She does it to keep her sister safe. So, and she also feels like she owes this guy something because he did save her from death, essentially. But as we start the story, they are on the lookout for the Book of Azrael. We don't know what the book does. We don't know where it is. We don't really know if it exists, but they're on the lookout for it. Also because there's this guy called the World Ender. His name is Samkiel, and that's how I would pronounce his name, but I didn't really know how I would pronounce his name until I said it, so I'm hoping I'm saying it right, but you never know. But he is essentially, he can end all the like monsters. He's invincible. He can't die, but he's also not been seen for a very long time, and then suddenly he makes an appearance because these two sides are starting to bump heads a little bit, and he hears of this and he shows up, and this can become very difficult for the villain side. And so Diana finds herself in a little bit of a situation, and she's taken prisoner. She has to start working with them, and her and Samkiel, also named Liam, don't necessarily get along that well, but they are running out of time. They need to stop these other guys before they get their hands on the Book of Azrael, and Diana needs to keep her sister safe. So that is essentially what it's about. It's like very clearly these two sides against each other, and Diana just kind of caught a little bit in the middle of it, but because of her sister. And I hope I didn't say too much. I really liked it. First book, rather long. I didn't mind it at all though. It's definitely a little bit of a thicker one. The pacing didn't feel off for me. I just really enjoyed it. Like, I don't know. It just sat right with me. You know those books that are just like, yeah. I mean, it wasn't like perfect, but it was getting there, and I can't really explain why. It just hit like the right spot. I liked that it was a little bit darker than a lot of other romantasy that I've read. I liked that Diana is absolutely terrifying. I really enjoyed that part of it. So she's a little bit different than a lot of the other heroines that I don't know if I want to call her. Is she a hero? Could she become one maybe? Yeah, she has a bit of an arc, I suppose. Or she could have one. She has the potential to have one. I think maybe that's part of it as well. Like, I just like seeing her journey through it all, I suppose. I don't know, I just really liked it. It sat right with me, but I can't really point my finger, like point out why exactly. I think I just got to the 50% mark and I was like, I love this, I can't stop. And I had one night where I basically read way too much, and after that I was unstoppable. So, you know, that's what happens. I got sucked in and I was unstoppable. So very much looking forward to continuing the series, hopefully this month with the Throne of Broken Gods, because my gosh, it ends on a cliffhanger and I'm not having it, so I'm gonna see what I can do this month to save myself from waiting too long. Anyway, I also read, this was mostly because it was available on Libby and I wanted to read some romance. I actually wanted to read some romance. And then what happened? I got a notification that, oh my gosh, this was the book where I broke my arm from my iPad is broken now because of this book, because I pulled it too close and it broke. I'm so sad. But anyway, I got a notification that Funny Feelings was available on Libby, but however, I had too many books already loaned. You can have 4 holds, which is great, by the way, because it used to be 2, but now it's 4. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna extend that one. And then I found out afterwards that the 2 books I have, I don't actually want to read. And then I got sucked into, this is just story of my life. I got sucked into like, well, what books can I borrow right now then? And I wanted to read some romance, so I went through the most borrowed romance books that are available right now, and this was on the list. Honeycut by Sierra Simone, which is the sequel to Salt Kiss, which is not necessarily a series that I saw myself continuing. It's erotica. Sure, I love smut in my books, but I'm not an erotica kind of gal. Not necessarily. These are very, very short though. It's like 330 pages. It's basically nothing, especially when the majority of it is smut. Okay, so you can kind of like go through that bit very quickly. I don't know if I read it so quick. I read it in like one night and then a little bit the next day, and I was done. It was such a quick read. It was okay. I will say Sierra Simone, her writing style, for what it is, erotica, like, it's dirty. It's dirty. This is even like, what's it called? BDSM is pretty much what it is. The first book is about, there's a guy who owns this BDSM club. He's the king of this club, okay? And a lot of powerful people visit this club, and it's a kink club, I think it's actually what it's called. He has a thing with his bodyguard, who is, so we have his, well, the first book is the bodyguard's point of view. The sequel gets a bit messy, but I'll let you know in a second. The third book is going to be from the leader of the club's point of view, I think. But the first book is the bodyguard's point of view, and basically him just like finding his place in this world that is completely new to him. He used to be a soldier. He's very taken with this guy as well. They have a little bit of a thing. And then the guy sends him off to fetch his fiancée out of the blue. It's an arranged marriage, but still, he sends his bodyguard, who he has a thing with, to pick up his fiancée. The problem is, the two are very taken with each other. So anyway, the sequel follows the fiancé's point of view. And it kind of follows, if you have read the Camelot trilogy, it follows the same formula. So you follow a guy, and then you follow a girl, and then lastly you follow... No, actually that one starts out with a girl, doesn't it? Anyway, you follow, each book follows a different character in like their little trio. But it's very naughty, and very much so. If you don't like smut, don't read it. If you think too much smut is too much smut, don't read it. It's erotica. There's gonna be a lot of it. It was entertaining though. And I love Sarah Simone's writing. I just can't read too much of this at once. Like, one book is enough for me to like, okay, let's just move on to something else afterwards, because I'm not really an erotica kind of gal. So, but I enjoyed it. Like, I did. Sarah Simone's writing is just very beautiful as well. Oh, and there's like killings in this too. Drama. I don't know. Drama. So, what did I end up giving it? 3.8, I think, on Goodreads. It says 4 in my book, by the way. I have, if I keep looking down, it's because I have this lying on the floor, so I can like keep track of what are my books. So yeah, it says 4, but I think I gave it 3.8. And that leaves us with the last one, The Ark, my DNF, which unfortunately I got as a special edition this month. It's A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. I don't really fully know how to explain. I think this is adult, not YA. I think it's adult. It's fantasy. It's very folklore. It's supposed to be academic rivals, but I don't necessarily see them as rivals because they're not competing for the same spot in anything. So we follow our lead girl Lorelai, who goes off on an expedition because the king needs something. The whole setup was a bit messy for me, which is probably, it didn't help with my situation, my reading situation. But they go off on this expedition, her and 5 or 6 others. They're all nobles. She's not. She's from a group of people that are hated, who seem very Jew-coded, by the way, which is a little bit awkward. But if you read the book, in the end it does seem a little bit awkward. Or not in the end, because I didn't read the ending, but when you get to certain explanations and like you see what direction we're going in, it does seem a little bit awkward. Because there's a question of like colonialism that is justified, which makes the whole like hate on Jew-coded people seem a little bit awkward. Anyway, but her and 5 or 6 others, I can't remember how many they are, go on this expedition because they need to secure a power source. I think it has something to do with water, but I can't fully remember. For the king though, so he can secure his reign in this world. Again, colonialism. And on this trip, there's a girl called Sylvia. She's known as the Moonshine Princess, but the German word for it. They're supposed to be the academic rivals, but again, they got like 2 different spots in the group. They're not really competing in any way, so they can't really be rivals per se. They just don't really like each other. Lorelai especially doesn't like Sylvia. But there's a romance, and you can probably tell where it's leading to. And oh right, someone dies on this expedition, or rather, they're murdered. So a lot of it is actually about Lorelai and Sylvia figuring out who did the murder. It's a murder mystery. That said, with me in this book, I really wanted to like all the folklore stuff that was sprinkled in there, but I feel like sometimes the explanations got a little bit too long for me. The whole setup, I was confused. I believe there was German in this book as well. All of us, like, people had a full-on conversation, or was that another book? I've been reading too much German lately. I don't know German. I can read it to a certain extent because I'm Danish and I've had German in school, but I don't know German. Anyway, but that was the thing. Or was it French? It might have been French. They had a full-on conversation and I'm like, okay, but I'm fine. I could read that too. But yeah, I don't know. I really wanted to like it because I like this little like folklore sprinkled in now and then. It just felt like a little bit too much in this one. I didn't really connect with any of the characters. And so the murder mystery as well wasn't like, I wasn't sad. I was a little bit surprised, sure, but I wasn't sad. And I wasn't like, oh no, who's it gonna be? It would have been funny if, this is not a spoiler by the way, it would have been funny or more interesting if it could have been Sylvia. But Sylvia was pretty much crossed off the list like right after it happened. So it's not really a spoiler because it's like literally on the same page as the murder takes place. Or as you find the murdered person. And I don't know, I just got a little bit like, at some point I was just bored. I don't know, I was just done. And then I didn't read in it for like 10 days and I was sitting on the train going home from Copenhagen, which is like a 3.5-hour train ride, and I was supposed to only read a couple of chapters in Apprentice to the Villain, and then I was supposed to finish this book, and I didn't want to read this book, so I ended up finishing Apprentice to the Villain, and I'm like, I'm just gonna let it go. Because I'm not reaching for this. I didn't enjoy it. I was just bored, a little bit frustrated. The romance also doesn't really take place until like 60% into the book. And then it's like very quickly, or maybe 70% into the book, because I don't think they actually... It's very late. Like there's no little sprinkle here and there. It's like all of a sudden, it's just, oh, okay. So it doesn't feel like a slow burn either, because there's no like pining or longing or anything like that. It's just like out of the blue. Anyway, it wasn't what I wanted it to be, and that's unfortunate because I had really high hopes for this. So, but yeah, I DNF'd it at 77, which you might be wondering, well, doesn't that mean you were only missing like 60 pages? Yes. And I couldn't get myself to read them, unfortunately. So it is what it is. Well, 70. It's about 70. So that was my DNF. But I'm still gonna give Alison Saft's other books a go at some point. I also own, yeah, it should be right there, Far Wilder Magic, which I've heard lovely things about, so we'll give that one a go at some point. A Dark and Drowning Tide, unfortunately, it was not for me, but it might be for you. It might just be like a me problem. So anyway, that was it for this wrap up. If you've read any of the books, feel free to leave your thoughts on them down below. I would love to hear you out. I'd love for you to tell me if you don't agree with me, by the way. Like, we don't have to have the same opinions on books. So I'm not trying to convince you or anything either. I'm just sharing my opinions. But yeah, so if you have anything to share, definitely feel free to. That is all I got for you guys today though, so I hope you all enjoyed this wrap up. If you did, feel free to hit the thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like this from me, but also all the other booktube stuff, or at least most of it, definitely consider sticking around by clicking on the subscribe button. However, I'm going to leave you to it now, so I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye! Oh, you know you're beautiful.